Peace, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you back into another edition of the File Playland. As always, I'm your file player. Wasn't intending on making a video today because Saturday is my only bum day. But since there's no baseball and for the Mets, and Rob Manfred has shown his stupidity, I thought it was a good time to make a video. Making this video regarding the recent news that Rob Manfred and the people over at the ever conscious MLB have decided to suspend the All-Star game or change or not have it at the Atlanta Braves home stadium because of Georgia's voting policies. Or Georgia's voting laws. I mean, like the law in Georgia is being because I read has been being misrepresented by a lot of the media, which happens to be highly liberal. Georgia's laws. I mean, like some of the facts that are being represented as far as what time voting is allowed to. That's being misrepresented. They're also misrepresenting as far as you being able to receive a bottle of water or food while online. That's also not true. You're not allowed to get those items, food or water or anything, or like pamphlets from voting organizations. Like if I want my guy to win and I'm giving you food and water and I say, vote for my guy, that's illegal. That's called it sounds like engineering, but it's another word. Something nearing, like electioneering. I think it might be. I don't know, but that's illegal almost everywhere. Like here in New Jersey where I live now, and in New York, you're not allowed to be 100 yards from a voting poll. Like um saying go vote for this guy, that guy. Like that's illegal too. So the thing is that Georgia happens to be a swing state, and I think that the liberals want to make Georgia a foothold the same way they want to do with Texas. In Texas, I think they're doing it by force by what's happening at the southern border, but in Georgia, I think they're doing it by illicit tactics and a little bit of throwing their weight around. And I think like this, since the Georgia laws were already put in place recently, um, maybe the MLB took it upon themselves to punish, the Braves and the people of Georgia. And personally, I can't stand the Braves. I mean, I think they have a good team this year, like and I respect them. But being a Met fan, I mean, the Braves have dominated us like for decades. But Rob Manfred, and not just because of this, but this is the biggest one I think from the career of Rob Manfred, and that's more because I feel very strongly about these things. Rob Manfred is an idiot. Rob Manfred is a joke. He took the DH situation to the to where a lot of teams were unsure where the National League was going to have a DH or not, and ultimately he didn't do it because there's going to be contract disputes coming up with the MLB and the Players Union. He's just an abject fool. The baseball is very rudimentary in its thinking, and that's a good thing. Like if you just let the seasons play out and don't change too much, nobody really cares. I mean, like they may gain some fans, they'll lose some fans, but it keeps rolling along. And Rob Manfred wants to change all that. I mean, if it wasn't his decision, I mean, like the buck stops with him. And but I could see that totally being his decision. As far as him trying to make this his contribution long term, like to his role as commissioner. But it's stupidity. I mean, it's stupid. I mean, like I have more of a conservative views, and I've never been shy about that. Never been shy about who I voted. I mean, even though that could get me banished to the Netherlands of YouTube and social circles, but personally, I don't care. I mean, like and if you feel a certain way, I mean, go ahead. Like But I'm Puerto Rican, grew up in Section 8 my whole life, dropped out in the ninth grade. I grew up in the worst hoods, and I was always outside. I was always running around with the worst people. And I'm not saying because of this country, but I brought myself up by my bootstraps. And I think more people that look like me, or Spanish or black people, and that's already happening. Like in New York, there's a wave of conservatism, but you also have a wave of assholes that want to shriek at you and try to assault you because of your political views. You can have views on anything and be as outlandish and perverted, or that's okay. That's open for discussion. But right now, there's just certain things like that you can't talk about, and if you're have one view that's even in that realm, then automatically you get attributed with 1,000 other things that are associated with that, and that may not be true. Like personally, like I'm open for free healthcare. Never been opposed to that. And I get free healthcare. Um, Not opposed to raising a minimum wage so long as it doesn't hurt jobs. I'm not opposed with taxing the corporations, not the rich. I mean, if you've made money on your own accord, so long as it's nothing absurd, like $1 trillion level, that's on you. But corporations have the ability to dole out reparations, to dole out any losses that we've occurred, due to shutdowns. Um, their corporations could really implement change. So I don't care about taxing them because they're taking their operations overseas anyway. So why not tax them? Bring them to their knees if you have to. You don't want to do business in America. I mean, you're not operating in America for the most part. So if you're selling in America, tax the hell out of them. But so I have very liberal views, or what could be construed as liberal views, with a lot of these things. From Jump Street. But the thing is that I happen to live in, or I happen to grow up in the most liberal hive mind, or the most liberal hive in the whole country, and that's Sunset Park, USA. Sunset Park, USA was probably the first place in America, maybe. I know it was the first in New York that actually voted a socialist as our city councilwoman. Um, and I considered running for city council myself. But I just saw how things get down. Like the whole attitude of having people advocate for you, it sickens me. I mean, like if I wanted, and it's not like that I'm opposed to welfare because I grew up on welfare. And my mom actually needed welfare, because my dad was a drug addict, and my mom sometimes worked, sometimes he couldn't work. And with 5 boys, I mean, and I've always found that like a racist view. Like when people say, "Oh, well, she should not have so many kids," like, who am I gonna tell her who to fucking not to? At this stage, what's she gonna do? Drown the kids at that point? But right now we're living in a time where these same people who were shitting on poor communities are the same ones that are now giving poor communities their path to justice. And they're not really, with Nike saying Black Lives Matter, but overcharge. I mean, they should charge very little, in poor communities, or with these cable companies. Just throw a slogan up and you're good to go. Or New York being at the helm of this whole social justice movement. Listen, I've dealt with the court systems in New York, and I've gone to thousands of court cases or hundreds of court cases, and everybody in that court, from the DA to the prosecutors to the judges to the lawyers, they're all by and large liberal. I know 100 judges. I mean, or I know tons of lawyers. Um, and these are the most liberal people in the world. You go hang out in front of one of their houses, like look, like a black dude or a Spanish dude dressed in anything that looks urban, and see how fast they'll call the cops on you. But also, while they're in those court cases, like those judges are brutal. Like you know, and you'll hear people talking amongst themselves in the court cases and saying, you know, this judge is on a trip today. You know, like fucking we're screwed. You know, and that judge will lock up without even like just being totally smug and like not even listening to cases and just handing out 5-10 years like, you know, like as if it's pancakes. You know, so why don't we go track these cases down and see which ones were being unjust and like, you know, but they don't want to do all that because that takes like a lot of hard work. But so long as like some asshole like Peter Manfred, I mean like Rob Manfred is giving you a semblance of change happening, people think that change is happening and it's not. Things are getting far worse, and not far worse for me and my conservative views. It's getting far worse for people in general. You know, these people that will enact change for you rather than you trying to change things yourself could also make change things for you in a negative turn, and things are changing for the negative without you even noticing. I mean, I go to the hood every day, like or practically, or I have to go to the hood to go to work. Like, could you say New York looks or seems better now than it was 5 years ago or 3 years ago? And things were getting progressively worse 3 years ago. Worse than they were in the 80s and in the 90s. You know, like, you know, just because these kids don't fight or no more or like lack balls doesn't mean they won't shoot up some shit. Like, and that was happening in New York left and right where people were getting mugged. And but so long as you see a couple yuppies moving in, like things people think that things are okay. And another thing too, that I've lived around, like what you would consider your hyper liberal like yuppies. Those people are brutal. Those people call the cops on everybody and their mom, and they're not calling it another yuppies. You know, those people come to New York with thinking that they're gonna teach you know, some urban kids how to basket weave, and when things don't go that way, their opinions change. They may not vocalize it, but they sure act that way. Like they sure act like they hate black and Spanish people when they live in New York. They sure don't socialize with black and Spanish people when they live in New York. They socialize with other yuppies. But when they're with other yuppies, they don't oralize or say like, you know, I can't stand these black and Spanish people because that's not PC. But they act that way. Trust me, they do. Like I've lived around in the heart of gentrification for 15 years. I know every nook and cranny or every trick that they implement more than 15 years. Like I've been opposed to gentrification since 2004. Publicly. Like I've always considered that an enemy. A lot of people that look like me didn't consider it an enemy. Now, I mean, back then, now they do. You know, you go like talk to people in New York, you know, and the biggest people that they loathed in New York were yuppies. Like, I mean, and it wasn't yuppies. It was hipsters and, you know, these people that look like they're poor, like, and they're not. You know, those are like right before this whole shutdown stuff happened. Like, these are the people that we loathed the most. But you know, just do a little bait and switch, and like, you know, you should be mad at this guy, not at that guy, and people surprisingly are very gullible and fall for it. But you know, let me know what you guys think though. But you know, it sucks that the MLB, which is like the least woke, you know, of sporting franchises, I mean, or sporting apparatuses outside of like hockey, maybe, is jumping into the fray. Maybe they think that you know, the basketball, which is like ultra woke and a shitty product as is, even before the wokeism touched it, or football. I mean, which I guess it has a little bit of wokeness to it, but I still watch football. Like it's not, to me, it's not a shitty product. So I you know, they could be ultra woke, and I'm still gonna watch it. Like I mean, like a lot of people say, oh well, I'm not gonna mess with it because like people are kneeling. I don't care. You know, do what you want. And another thing that I'm very liberal on, like I don't care what you do, like as far as your opinions are. I think it's like I think it's ungodly to oppose anybody to talk about anything. You could talk about whatever the hell you want. That's freedom of press. I mean, or like, you know, like your right to express yourself. Like, do whatever the hell you want. Like, how is it that like in this past year, like you can't say certain things, like, or you're a goddamn demagogue or like a demon or something. It's ridiculous. And like and that's you could say things about Spanish people like and I'm Puerto Rican. I don't give a shit. Like I know where you're coming from. Like I'm not supposed to convince you. To hell with you. Be on your way. Like, but don't think that you're gonna come into my house and express your distaste for Puerto Ricans by coming in Casa Colon without thinking that you're gonna leave without a limb. And that's my right. But the fact that we want to live in a somewhat nanny state where everything gets policed and everything gets scrutinized and your livelihood could be affected because of that. That's not justice. I mean, that's giving people that are way more powerful than you more power, and they're not going to relinquish that power because a pandemic ceases to exist, or I don't know, or certain politicians are voted in or out. That power they're never going to relinquish it. Like powerful entities don't relinquish power. That's how they retain power. You know, but it's I just can't stand when people, rather than being good people or rather than doing good things, i.e. like the MLB, they take it upon themselves to try to do public displays of being on the right side of justice or trying to enact justice. And that's what's disappointing. And I'm not going to stop watching the Mets one iota. Like, I'm pissed off this whole weekend because the Mets got canceled due to a couple of positive tests. But am I gonna stop watching baseball because of that? Absolutely not. Like in the same way I didn't stop watching football. Like when people were pissed off about people kneeling, or when people were pissed off about people not kneeling, or like flag this, or I don't care about that. I'm a patriot too. But if you want to kneel, go ahead. Like, I think it was a bad idea to kneel. I think you don't get on your knees for anybody. They should have turned their back on the flag. Personally, I mean, like, but as more of a an act of protest, like, do you take anybody seriously? When if you were to meet a king and you were, would it be more disrespectful to turn around and show him your ass, or would it be more disrespectful for you to kneel in front of a king? That's just me personally. But but do what you do. Like, you could talk about whatever you want, have any zany views, or so long as you're not hurting anybody, and you could talk about hurting people. I don't care. That's a form of expression. Who cares? So long as they're not enacting it. I mean, like, those people that are talking about hurting people or doing certain things, then you should be vigilant and watch those people, like, and make sure they don't enact on those things. You rather have them, like, internalize it and then do those things on the sneak. And I've traveled this country many a times. I know, like, when I'm dealing with, like, people that are racist, like, or or I've been in areas where you may think that there's, like, racist people, like, i.e. like Hicks or some shit. But what am I gonna go, like, wave like Puerto Rican shit like there, like, or better yet, are you so afraid of those people that you want somebody else to take out justice for you, like, or check those people? I'd rather check them myself. If I don't agree with you and I don't like it that much, I mean, like, then I'd rather be the one that cuffs you, across your cheek. Like, I don't want nobody to do it for me. Like, what's the fun in that? But we got to get, like, to a point where we're not celebrating people taking justice on our behalf. Because that leaves us in a position where we no longer want to search for our own justice. We got to, like, look for or exercise in finding our own our own justice, and then it becomes a habit. Then nobody could infringe on you when it's a habit, like, of getting instant redemption. But let me know what you guys think. With that, I'm out. Fuck Rob Manfred. Peace.